Rating your spicy philosophy takes on a scale of 1 to 7. This is one of the arguments that kickstarted the modern ethical vegetarian movement. I think it's true, but I also think it's pretty spicy. The argument claims that there is no non-arbitrary justification for eating animals that also wouldn't permit us to eat humans. For example, if it's okay to eat animals that are less intelligent, then it should also be okay to eat babies or the severely mentally handicapped. And if it's okay to eat animals because they don't have social relationships like us, it should also be okay for us to eat socially isolated people. Now, if we instead say it's okay to eat animals because they're not the same species as us, this sounds dangerously close to other forms of discrimination we know are wrong, like mistreating people that are a different race from me. I think this argument is pretty spicy because most people eat animals anyway as a default, not for any ethical justification, but because it's our way of life. And this argument probably creates some kind of cognitive dissonance that most people aren't fully willing to acknowledge. 6 out of 7. So this claim has to do with the burden of proof. It's treated as a general rule that someone who makes a claim going against the status quo has the burden of proving that claim. So the question is moral realism the status quo or moral anti-realism? Where the claim would be pretty spicy if moral anti-realism turns out to be the status quo. Maybe anti-realism is the status quo among more empiricist or naturalist circles who would say something like, the moral realist is positing a new kind of thing. They would have to justify the existence of that thing, and it wouldn't be reasonable for them to turn around and ask you to justify its non-existence instead. On the other hand, many philosophers treat moral realism as the status quo as well. Most of us intuitively do act like moral statements can be factual, and the existence of moral facts seems like the simplest and most obvious way to explain what we're doing when we engage in moral discourse. And in fact, a small majority of philosophers are moral realists. So given that most philosophers would agree with this claim, I think it's unfortunately not very spicy. 3 out of 7. So on the face of it, the claim that there is one God that exists as 3 distinct things is pretty spicy. If we treat all of these relations as equality, then the claim obviously can't be true, because 3 things that are equal to the same thing should then also be equal to each other. So these relations can't express equality, and I think most theologians believe that they don't. They instead view the Trinity as there being one God in essence and 3 distinct persons that share the same divine essence. And although most Christians believe the doctrine of the Trinity to be true and non-contradictory, it's also commonly expressed as a mystery that is not fully intelligible to humans. So despite this being commonly accepted doctrine, I think its mysterious nature makes it pretty spicy. 5 out of 7. Drop more hot takes in the comments and I'll react to them in a part 2.